You know that feeling when you're out in public fighting a losing battle against a massive stomachache? You can go to the bathroom, but you still have a task to finish. It doesn't really matter what you're doing, the result is probably gonna be shit. Literally. That is probably the exact situation the Game Freak dev team was working under when they made this game. I had seen the negative reviews before playing it, but oh my god, it is somehow even worse. I'm not one to complain about the games I buy, that is unless the game is actually calling me an idiot to my face. I've been playing Pokemon since I was a kid, and in 2016, ignoring Pokemon X, the franchise had finally hit its peak for me with Sun and Moon. Great writing, art direction that was actually above average, hell, I even liked Disney movies. But then we jumped to 2022, 3 years ago, and we have this. Looking at this falling world, this low FPS, these hideous animations, this writing that feels like it came straight from the free version of ChatGPT, thinking it was okay to release this is honestly impressive in its own right. Look, I have no problem with someone like this game. Sure, in my view your taste is extremely questionable, but like me, you paid for the game too, so whatever, right? My only problem lies with the people trying to defend this ball of bugs. Before I make this video, I scrolled through Reddit to see if I was the only one having certain issues, and the amount of posts defending this mess that I found was way higher than expected. I don't understand the point of defending a bad game from a massive corporation. Is it masochism? Maybe madness? I don't really know. But then again, it doesn't really matter. Let's give it a try and take a look at the mess that is this game. Look, I get it, okay? Nobody picks up a Pokemon game expecting the visual fidelity of Cyberpunk or something. We all know that games in this series have always been made to run on hardware equivalent to a calculator. Actually, I think Mother Smart Fridge could probably run them better by now. Anyway, the problem is a lack of focus on realistic graphics is no excuse for having bad art direction. Seriously, just look at Sun and Moon on the 3DS. Alola is simply dazzling alive, the art direction was impeccable, the color palette matched the environments perfectly and created incredible visual diversity. The art was simple, gave richness to the world, and the Pokemon models didn't look out of place. It was a visually rich game thanks to its artistic direction, and all of that on potato hardware. Initially, I wondered if the problem with Scarlet and Violet was due to the Switch hardware being weaker than a 2020 smartphone, you know? But that doesn't seem to be the case. Like Xenoblade 3 and Tears of the Kingdom show that it is possible to make games with giant worlds, the art is still visually pleasing on it. Not only that, but even Pokemon Let's Go and Sword and Shield still had a pleasant art direction. So, this only means that there is no other explanation other than Pokemon Scarlet and Violet completely dropped the ball. Yeah, but not because of the console, but rather because Game Freak wanted it this way. If I had to describe it, I would say that Pokemon Scarlet and Violet doesn't have an art style per se. It looks more like the game has clinical depression since its colors are usually quite washed out. No, seriously, I can't remember a single game I've played that reached this level of neglect. It is the level where I can't see this having been done by accident. The color palette complements nothing in the world. It seems like the teamwork here wanted to make the most generic and faded coloration possible. Seriously, look at this shit scene and tell me if this looks good. Not satisfied with that, the assets used for tertiaries are also horrendous. I don't know who had the brilliant idea to stretch a low-resolution PNG and call it Crown, but that person should be fired immediately. On top of that, the buildings are more generic than ever, and there is no visual coherence in Paldea. And to think that a few generations ago back in Sun and Moon, I was basically having an eye gasp seeing how beautiful Alola was, and now here I am making video complain about a game 2 generations after it. Remember how fun it was to enter virtually every single building you saw, talk to NPCs who were living there or working inside and fighting items? Well, you can do any of that here. Imagine my surprise when I arrived in Mesagoza, saw countless buildings on outside, but couldn't enter a single one besides the academy. I swear to you, this left me perplexed for about 20 minutes before I continued playing. In exchange for the organic and rewarding exploration of previous games, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet decide to decrease the number of buildings you can interact with and replace entering them with menus. Yes, you didn't hear that wrong. It replaced all of that with menus and countless buildings. I swear, I can't understand how anyone thought this was going to be a good idea. Seriously, the marketing for Scarlet and Violet was entirely built on how the game would give you total freedom for exploration to do things however you wanted, meaning that an immersive open world was the bare minimum everyone was expecting. At least that's what I was expecting. Getting over that and moving on, we ran face first into a weird attempt to replicate the trial system from Sun and Moon. But as you can probably guess, this didn't end well. Look at this trial for the bug gen. Does this look fun to you? Because it isn't. In reality, a good chunk of these trials aren't trials per se. If someone told me their goal was to make sense to freshly lobotomized newborns, I would believe it. That is the level we are at. I know, I have no problems at all with simple trials. A lot of trials, for example, in games like Zelda Breath of the Wild, are simple but at the same time fun. The problem is that here, the game isn't proposing a real challenge or even something well made. It is just calling you an idiot to your face. And I don't know about you, but I don't like it when people call me stupid like that. As for the core gameplay of the series, I don't really have much to say. It is just there, I guess. I mean, the crystallization is something so ugly and unnecessary that I don't even know what to say. I saw a lot of people saying some of the designs were actually cute, but for me that is unthinkable. It would be the same as me walking up to someone and say a pug is actually cute. The person will understand, of course, but they will hardly agree. Still, I guess crystallization is actually mechanically better than Gigantamax, so yeah, among all evils, the lesser one. It is ridiculous to think that a game running this badly was allowed to be released. And look, I won't accept any disrespect towards my boy, the Sweet here. The fault of the game running like a potato lies with Game Freak itself, and not my little guy. We already talked about how the textures are horrible, but not even the quality of the scenario geometry justifies the shit performance here. Several times during exploration, the sensations of playing something at less than 10 FPS. A game that is uglier than almost every game from 2010 running this badly is just... Not satisfied with running like trash, the developers also used a technique where certain objects and NPCs' emotions end up being rendered at a lower frame rate as they get further away from the player. The idea itself is quite good actually, and it's something even Elden Ring does on the PS4. The problem lies with its execution. Look at this on the screen and tell me it would actually be incredibly comfortable to see several examples like this in a 7-hour game. It is in moments like this that you ask yourself how a game like this passed Game Freak's internal quality assurance. That is, if they even had one. By the way, the problem isn't just the low FPS, but also the amount of bugs that occurred in this game. One that I can remember off the top of my head is when you meet the legendary team Pokemon for the first time, it gets into place and it looks like a rock is falling. But when the game cuts back to the player, there's nothing there. I was asking myself what the hell had happened, but little did I know what awaited me later. Getting stuck inside doors, falling into the abyss, freezing while jumping somewhere. All of these were normal occurrence during my playthrough. By the end of my run, I had already been lobotomized to a level where I didn't even care anymore. Actually, I just needed some serious scope to justify paying full price for this, so yeah. Look, I've played a lot of bad and broken stuff in my life. I was there when Batman Arcanite launched broken, I was there when Cyberpunk launched broken, I was there when Assassin's Creed Unity launched broken. The difference is that even though those games came out broken, they were still good games underneath. Look, I understand it might be sad to look at a franchise you've followed for so long and see it falling, but there are things we need to accept, and this game being shit is one of them. During my 70 plus hours of gameplay, I can't say I saw a single positive point in it, not even an idea with potential. The experience was so negative that I sincerely cannot recommend this to anyone, not even for the meme. My sincere recommendation is for you to stay as far away from this as possible. There are so many good games out there that spending money on something broken and poorly made like this should be actually considered a crime. Oh, by the way, if you see someone defending this game on the internet, send this video to them. Maybe it is still possible to save a soul, or just annoy them. Either way, it works. Bye bye.